you. Something interesting happened on the football. Right, we've got quite a lot of athletic activity being on the last couple of weeks. So I want to start off though with we've got a young lady, a club member, Fleur Todd Warmouth, who's 16 years old. Paul, can you? Yeah, sorry. We're just the cheering wasn't for the magnificence of the president's speech. That's better. Right, no, so Fleur Todd Warmouth is a 16-year-old, and she ran in a BMC Wormwood Scrubs 3,000 metres last week, and she achieved a time of 9 minutes 16.35 seconds, which not only beat the club under 17 record and the under 20 record and the under 23 record, but it also beat the senior record and made her 7th in the UK all-time list for an under 17-year-old. A really remarkable run. So congratulations to her. And not to forget her coach, Phil Kissy, who obviously had a helping hand in there. Moving on, last week I mentioned that a week ago last Saturday we had the initial YDL match of the season at Eton, and I said we hadn't got the detailed results. I'd report on that in a little more detail this week. So this YDL match was returned to competition after 2 years, because of the pandemic, of course, there hasn't been any. And so apart from it being the start of the competition that leads up to the national championships for the young athletes, it was also a match within a match, because 2 years ago, 2019 rather, so I suppose 3 years ago, we won the club national championships, the YDL, and as such were entitled to go to the European Championships in 2020. Well, of course, they never happened, and they didn't happen in 2021, but they are happening this year, albeit with a slightly different format. And so we thought we might get an automatic, because we won it in 2019 and were the last winners through, but they said no, and they suggested a match-off between ourselves and Shaftesbury, who were runners-up in the Nationals, and that run-off was to be at the YDL at Eton a week ago last Saturday, so it was a kind of a double match really, and a good performance. So obviously we've got a lot of good athletes and they perform well, but inevitably we have injuries, and at this time of the year a lot of the youngsters have got exam commitments and things. So one of the key things that struck me, having watched the under-17s and under-20s at the YDL, and then having more recently seen the under-13s and the under-15s, is the willingness of our young athletes to not only perform in their own events, but to help the team out by appearing in events which aren't their natural events. So I'd like to just commend a few names here, and I'll just give you some examples of what they do. So if we look at the men, for instance, at Eton, we have to commend Bryden Duncan, Max Kennedy, Oscar Widcombe, Barnaby Corrie, Ben Platt, Lewis Brooke, George Shaw, Lawrence Goslin, Regan Lawrence, Sam Mower and Nathan Furler. Now, as an example, Barnaby Corrie, who's basically there as a pole vaulter, also did the high jump and the long jump, where he placed second, so valuable points. Sam and Nathan, who are both under-17s, ran in the under-20s 4x400 metre relay team. So this was people helping out teammates, and the support they give to each other is absolutely terrific. On the ladies' side, I apologise if I don't get some of these names pronounced correctly. There was Faith Akin-Biligi, who's an under-17 200 metre. She came first in the under-17 200 metre, but she also ran in the under-20s 100 metres and placed first. Morgan Squibb, Ailba Barnes, Daisy Snell. Daisy she's an under-17, but she appeared in the under-20 long jump and high jump, plus the under-17 4x300 metre relay. That's another example. Others to mention: Zara Obama Kinwa, Cleo Agapong, Gypsy Nash, Jodie Self, and Sienna Kidd. So, I mean, there were many more names I could mention, but, they really do put a lot in. What was particularly notable in the relay was how well the relay teams performed, with one exception, where unfortunately the men's under-20 had one hiccup on a handover which got them disqualified. The relay teams were really slick, and quite often it was obvious that whilst other teams may have had faster runners, because of how well drilled our team were, with the efficiency of their handovers. They were winning the races, and we ran three of the 4 relays. And thanks to that go to John Blackie and Roy Dickens, who spent some time training them at the track the previous week. So the good news is we won the YDL match. We had 719 points, which was 90 points ahead of Windsor, Slough and Eton. A point I would add here is that 44 of those points came from people who volunteered as officials from the club. And so if you volunteer as an official, you do win points. And as you'll see in the match last Saturday, those points could be the difference between winning and losing. A couple of points here and there. So I've put a few requests out for more volunteers, and it's a good job, it's an exciting job. I contributed to those 44 points with my tape measurement. As did Dennis and anybody else here officiating that day? No. But anyway, so that was a good result. And we have heard, the YDL have confirmed that we beat Shaftesbury Barnet in the playoff between the two. We're awaiting official confirmation from UKA. And that will mean that the poor treasurer, putting my other hat on, will be having sleepless nights working out how to find the money to send it's interesting. I'll talk more about it in the future, but the European Championships are going to be one of these new DNA, Dynamic New Athletics, I think it stands for, events, which are they're not designed to replace the traditional track meet, but you have things like mixed relay teams and that sort of thing. So I'm trying to learn a bit more about the format of that, and I'll let you know. Anyway, moving on. Last Saturday we had our first Kent Young Athletes meeting at Erith. Did I get that pronounced right for any locals over there? And this was for the lower age groups, so the under 13s and the under 15s. Now, interesting thing, the under 13s haven't run in a track and field meet because they were 11 when the pandemic struck. So for a lot of these youngsters, it was their first experience of representing the club in a formal track and field meet, and they did really well. We won the match by over 100 points. From Tunbridge were just behind us. The team managed 19 A string wins and 14 B string wins. On the girls' side, the under 13s girls team won the sprint relay. Amelia Adisi won the shot. In the under 15s, Erin Simpson won the shot, the discus and the javelin. Another example of people trying their hand at everything. We had Alicia Furler, who won the 75 metre hurdles. Megan Barlow won the 300 metres and the B-string high jump. On the boys' side, the under 13 boys, Oscar Sadowski won the long jump. James Shaw won the 1500 metres. The under 15 boys team won both the relays. We had winners in Joshua Daku in the long jump, Charlie Platt in the pole vault. Ryan Rennie won the 300 metres in a grade 1 time of 38.1 seconds. And Rio McCausland won the 100 metres. So it was a great week, and it was fantastic to watch the enthusiasm of the youngsters, their support for each other, and the enthusiasm of the parents as well over there. Okay, in America, Katie Ann McDonald, Jasmine Ostrich and Divine Oladipo all were outperforming as they usually do, pretty respectably. Back home on Monday we had the Ted Pepper race, which attracted over 200 runners despite the competition with the Vitality 10K in London, and a great result for the club. We had the first 3 runners home, Micah Evans, Tony Crowder and Steve Howe, and closely followed by Darren Conai and Steve Evenden. Darren was 6th and Steve was 12th, so if there's been a team prize we definitely would have landed that. So I would particularly like to thank Dave Beadle, who was the race director, for organising that, but also Steve Pearman, who's here, and Andy Tucker, who helped with the marshals and the horse. And also to thank all the marshals. Turning, just looking at the park run, we had 42 runners this week, a little bit down, presumably because people were either doing the Vitality or the 10K or the Ted Pepper. 42 runners at 13 locations. We had 3 firsts. Caris Firth was First Lady at Orpington. Blair Wilson was first man at Bromley. And Jake Leng was the first man at Footscray. So that was good. Up in York, John Isaacs completed the Parkrun Alphabetia Trophy. So, with the exception of X and Z, which you can't get, he's run a parkrun beginning with every other letter of the alphabet, but he did it and broke their age group record, 28 minutes 7 seconds. Well done, John. So, yeah, I ran at Bromley. There were 21 runners, 6 in the top 10. I was towards the lower end of those runners. Okay, right. Moving on, I'm going to just touch on, I did mention funding as part of this. We've got the European Championship coming up. It's going to cost us some money. We've got Norman Park, the fit out, the completion of that. That's going to cost us some money. This weekend, we've got the senior men's and ladies teams going up to Manchester for the National League. And that's going to cost us about £6,000 because it's an overnight stop. We've got some great fundraising events. The Ted Pepper has raised between £1,500 and £2,000, which is great. Last week, John Turner gave me another chunk of money, so we've had over £1,000 now from John's book. So thank you very much, John. And don't forget all your donations. If you give donations, and you gift aid them, that lifts them up by another 25%, courtesy of the revenue. The bonus ball. There's another fundraising that we get over £1,000 a year out of the bonus ball. So talking of that, Terry, who was our winner?
Is it David Appleton?
You sure it wasn't one of the grandchildren?
But we have 8 spaces left if anybody would like to. Well done.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I'll present that to myself. Okay. The last thing I want to mention is just a reminder on the kit. We've got the new kit facility set up. There is a long lead time on that. I know because I ordered some a few weeks ago now and I'm still waiting for it to arrive. But in the meantime, there is club kit down at the track. You can buy it from any of the Norman Park track management people, and we've got them on sale offer. So if you need stuff, assuming they've got your size, that will run down. Okay, is there any other news anybody has got? No, back to the football then. Good night.